You are tuned in to Kids
In the pit!
Hey guys, it's Gabe from the Kids in the Pit podcast. Today I'm joined by Jeff Kaplan from Two Man Advantage and some other bands we'll talk about as well. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So first of all, Happy New Year's. Tonight's New Year's Eve. So are you
Yep.
are you doing anything fun tonight?
Happy New Year's to you as well. I think my wife and I will just go grab some dinner and probably just chill out at home. Uh,
Nice.
Used to be a big partying day for me, but after a little while, I think nice relaxing New Year's is what's in order. But yeah, how about you?
Yeah, I think we probably will too. Like a tradition that so my dad plays drums and I play drums, guitar, bass, and like sing. So I will play like guitar or bass. And at 12 a.m. we'll just like make a bunch of noise.
That that's exactly what you should be doing. So that sounds like a lot of fun. Enjoy it. And yeah, Happy New Year. Here's to successful 2025, whatever that might mean.
Yep. Um, yeah. So I think you're in three current bands: Two Man Advantage, Too Many Voices, and Hope Collapse. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, Hope Collapse, starting with that is really just sort of for now, just a recording project. Hope Collapse was a band who put out a record about 20 years ago. I was not in the band back then, but friends with all the members. And Andrew Orlando, the guitarist, wrote a bunch of songs earlier this year and just sort of decided, this sounds like this could be a new Hope Collapse record. And their original bass player really doesn't play anymore. And so we've been friends for a very, very long time. Our old bands used to play together. And so he said, Jeff, do you want to play bass on a new Hope Collapse record? I said, absolutely. The singer lives in California. In fact, the singer is Carlos Ramirez, who I don't know if you're familiar with No Echo,
Oh,
um,
well, yeah.
that website.
Yeah. My band's World of Chaos. We have like an article on it.
He does a great job with that website. So Carlos, who runs that website, is going to be the singer in that band.
Nice.
But he's in California, so I don't know if we're ever going to play shows. I mean, I'm open to it, but we're all on the East Coast. He's on the West Coast. So for now, we're just going to record and see what happens from there.
Yeah, I didn't know that Carlos runs it. I don't know him, but that's the like reason my band's on it is because uh there's this like guy that we're friends with that works it. He's been in bands like he's been in a band with my dad. He's in this other what's their new band called? Jeez, I forget. Academy Order. Have you heard?
Okay, I
Yeah,
haven't.
yeah. They're like I don't know. They're kind of like goth like synth rock with like some hardcore. It's kind of really odd, but
But he writes for them.
yeah, it's he writes for No Echo and he's the singer of that band. Yeah,
Something to check out. Cool.
it's not. It's yeah. It's like I don't know any like bands like it before. I've heard them. They're very like unique, but they're cool.
Well, it's good. Being unique and good that's a good thing.
Yeah. Um. So I've listened to Two Man Advantage. It's all hockey related, right?
Mostly. I mean, the band was really started just to play one party, a Halloween party, back in 1997. And it was just everybody was in different bands, like kind of not bands about hockey or sports. And just the singer had the idea just to play this one Halloween party, and he was a hockey player and loved hockey. And he pulled in a bunch of his friends and said, "Hey, you want to do this one-off party? We'll write a bunch of songs about playing hockey and drinking beers, and we'll just play this one party, and that'll be it." And he said, "Sure." And as it turned out, the party was canceled that year. It never happened. So there were like these 10, 15 songs that had been written. Um, and someone just had the idea of let's just play a show anyway. And a show was played and everyone loved it. and the second show was played and everyone loved it. Next thing you know, a demo was recorded. Next thing you know, a couple of bands said, "Hey, how about doing split 7 inches?" And 27 years later, we're still doing it. So it's
Nice.
mostly hockey. It's mostly hockey themed. I mean, we wear hockey jerseys. Most of the songs are about hockey. Not everyone, but most of them are. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Um, what does two man advantage mean? So, because like my dad's really into hockey and he would know, because so we don't have to call him while he's at work.
Okay. Two-man advantage is a hockey term, and it's what happens when someone gets a penalty in hockey and they go to the penalty box, and then so the teams are now playing 5-on-4, and if the team that's being penalized gets a second penalty, and someone else goes to the penalty box, and now it's a two-man advantage. So one team
That
has
makes
5 players on the ice, one team has three. So one player has 2 men more on the ice than the other team because of the penalties, and that's called a two-man advantage. And the reason the band was named that was simply the singer and the bass player were thinking of names for the band and literally just going through like an encyclopedia of hockey terms. How does this sound? How does this sound? And they came across two-man advantage. They looked at each other and said, "That sounds cool." And so that's how the name happened.
wow, nice. My dad is like a huge Flyers fan. I also like Flyers too.
Boo.
I've been to a few games. Who's your favorite hockey team?
I'm a big, big New York Islander fan.
Ooh, but I have no
All
idea
right,
'cause I
fair
don't
enough.
follow it. But that's for my husband.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. We got to understand when I grew up 10 minutes away from the Nassau Coliseum where the
Oh,
Islanders played up until um, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And I was born in 1973. So when I was in, the age where I'm beginning to discover sports and, being 6, 7, 8 years old, the New York Islanders were the best team in sports. I mean, they won the cup 4 years in a row. They were just the best team in sports. I think to this day, of the four major North American sports, they still hold the record for like the most playoff series won in a row. So, being a kid at that age and having such a winning team right in your backyard, I mean, everybody my age grew up where I was, all became New York Islander fans. Of course, they've been terrible ever since then, but once you're a fan, you're kind of a fan.
yep.
Nice. Wait, what?
That's
How do
it.
you feel about the New York Islanders? Don't like them.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
dad said
he
that.
said don't like them.
Don't like them. Yeah. Well, I would be shocked if a Flyer fan said that they did. So,
Yeah.
it's a great rivalry.
But to be fair, we don't hate them as much as we hate the Penguins.
Oh, to be fair, our drummer, Aaron, or coach, is from Pittsburgh. He moved here to go to college in the early 90s. That's when we met, but he is a diehard Penguins fan. So it's a good thing he's not on with you today.
Yeah.
And he'd
And
probably say the same thing about the Flyers.
mhm. So wait. Yeah. Okay. What do you do in all your bands?
What do I
Got
do? What?
what do you do in all your bands?
So, in two-man advantage, I am one of the guitarists. We have two guitar players. And in every other band I'm in, I play bass. That's my primary instrument is bass. Too Many Voices, I play bass. Hope Collapse, Hudson Falcons, and pretty much every earlier band, I play bass. I did play drums for a couple of bands. That was really my first instrument I was decent at was drums. But I haven't played drums in a band really in probably about 20 years.
Wow. So where do you still live? I would assume New York maybe because you're a fan of New York Islanders.
Yeah. I mean, I'm born and raised on Long Island. But about 4 years ago, we moved to Queens. So still in the area, Queens, New York City, and still only, a 30-minute drive from Long Island, but a lot closer to New York City now and really like it here.
Sick. Yeah, we go to New York for shows pretty often. Mainly like the Brooklyn Monarch because there's a lot of good shows at the Brooklyn Monarch.
Hmm. Well, next time you're there, let me know. Um, because I live 3 subway stops away from the Brooklyn Monarch, and that's a great venue. There's a couple of venues that are all right there, Brooklyn Monarch, the Wood Shop, and the Meadows. And they're kind of all on the same block. right next to each other, and they all have,
Great.
they have great shows.
Great food truck out front.
Oh yeah, there's a great like
Yeah, yes, good food truck. But I mean, those spaces just, even though they're pretty big sized, I mean, they still really feel like DIY venues. Great bands, punk, metal, everything in between. There's a great venue in Ridgewood, Queens, which is literally a mile from where I live, called TVI. That's also an excellent. None of the great venues are really in New York City, Manhattan anymore. They're really mostly like in Brooklyn and Queens these days.
Better for parking.
yeah, I mean yeah, definitely better for parking.
Slightly, slightly better for parking, but yeah,
Well, yeah, parking's always hard in the city,
It's
but
not too bad. It seems like at the Monarch.
well,
Maybe I get lucky.
it's not that bad. I never had too much problem finding parking in the city either. Uh, back then, back in the day when the Lower East Side was kind of desolate. Now there's parking meters on every road, so a little more difficult these days. But
also we get there like right at doors so we can get a good like spot, right?
Or before doors.
Yeah, we get there before doors, so we get there before most people, I think.
you get a good spot up front, and you're
Yeah.
making sure you're supporting all the opening bands, which a lot of people don't always do.
Yeah. I try.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we saw DRI at the wood shop and that was really, really cool.
DRI is great. Yeah. Two Man Advantage played with them a few
Wow.
times, but we played with them on our very first tour, 98. We played two shows in one day with them at a club in Tempe, Arizona. The daytime show was an all ages show, and then the nighttime show was 21 plus. But we spent a little bit of time with Spike and the bass player, Chumley, who passed away about 10 years ago.
I don't know about that.
The other two guys, Kurt and whoever was playing drums, they just kind of hung out in their van the whole time. But Spike was really nice.
Yeah.
Great band. And their set list was like this long, right? I mean, it was like 2 pages worth of songs.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Like 90,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they play for 90 minutes.
and they're in their 60s.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They're
they never
like-
stopped. I mean, Spike had some health issues. I know he had some, I think, cancer that I know he was dealing with for a while. But other than that, they have been a touring force for decades. It's unbelievable.
yeah. They're awesome. And we've like we're kind of friends with them and they're just super, super nice. Like, cause I mean, we see them a lot and they like always remember us. And yeah.
Their crossover album was a big one for me. That was a really big album because I mean, I got into punk rock through metal. And so a lot of those crossover records where punk bands sort of began flirting with metal, like Agnostic Front and DRI, that period of time was so big for me. And I remember getting that crossover record, that great album cover with the iconic logo, and listening to that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so Kurt let me like sing Syringes in the Sandbox. You know the song?
Not off the top of my head.
It's
Okay.
a newer.
Oh, it's a newer one. Yeah.
newer.
Well, so
Still
it's
old.
it's from it's like what I think it's like 93 or something like that.
For them, that's new.
Yeah, that's that. I'm pretty sure it's the newest non like compilation or live record.
Yeah, I guess they do more touring than playing. So how'd that go for you when you sang it?
Yeah, it was awesome. Like, yeah, I just sung with them. It was I don't know what to say, but it was awesome. Yeah.
That's fun, singing with your favorite bands. I did go through some of your old videos just to see who you had, and I saw that you had Greg and you were talking about doing the punk rock karaoke, or you had a video of you doing Minor Threat,
Yeah.
right, with the punk rock karaoke. That's always fun. Of course, that's fun.
Yeah. Although the funny thing is when I sung with DRI, I think it was like September, I don't know, it was early September, and then like a week or so later, my band played the same venue, which is really cool.
Which venue was that?
Skid Row Garage in York.
Okay, yeah. So we played there as well. What a great
Nice.
venue. We played there at the end of September.
Oh
And
wow.
what an incredible venue. I mean, I'm actually jealous. Like, you think living in New York City, we have all these clubs, but I was jealous of that venue. I mean, to have a place like that, like in York, Pennsylvania, just like this focal point, this meeting point where every punk kid in town could just know to go there and meet up. I mean, that's what really fosters a scene, is having that place. And it's such a great place. And every band is playing there, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic playing there.
Yeah.
That's cool that you and right, you played there. I think I saw that video too. You were doing like a municipal waste song or something.
Well, so that was we've actually played there twice. That was earlier this month and just like December 13th.
They were both Friday the 13th.
Yeah, they were both Friday the 13th. They were September Friday the 13th and December Friday the 13th.
It's perfect. It's best day of the year.
Yep, and both flyers had like a Jason like a guy on, the Friday the 13th.
I'm a fan. I was born on a Friday the 13th, and I'm a big fan of the Friday the 13th movies, so I feel it.
Wait, so I was born on a third, but what like day of the week was that? Do you remember?
Maybe Friday.
Might have been a Friday.
But-
I don't know, but it wasn't the 13th, so
Third.
yeah.
Wasn't the
Yeah. Wait, what band did you say played Skid Row Garage? Two Man Advantage or
Two-man advantage play there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
No. Okay. Now next question. What are some other bands you've been in?
Well, I also play bass currently in a band called Too Many Voices. We have some stuff out. We're on, Spotify, Bandcamp, all that stuff. We've been around for about 12 years. Wow, 14 years. I think 2010, that band started. Uh, that's more like a kind of a melodic hardcore band, influenced a lot by Revolution Summer, which was this period in Washington, D.C., kind of in the mid 80s. Bands like, I don't know, Dag Nasty, Rites of Spring, Embrace, sort of all the original DC hardcore guys who were in bands like Minor Threat and stuff like that, who were at that point beginning to branch out a little bit into more melodic, maybe slightly more complex territory than their original bands. So very happy with that band. Love the music we make. We don't really play outside of the Long Island, New York area that much. It's been a while. Um, we should probably try to do that at some point. I've also done some time in the Hudson Falcons, which is a long-running punk rock and roll institution out of New Jersey that's been going since about 96. And really, that band is really the brainchild of Mark Linsky, who is their main singer-songwriter. He's the only guy that's been in that band the whole way through. And he has a bit of a revolving door of musicians, and I'm lucky enough to be in that revolving door. So I play bass on one album. I did a 2.5 month long tour about 20 years ago, which was very intense. I'm not sure I'd ever want to be on tour that long again. But it was a great experience. And I occasionally we still get together occasionally and maybe do like a weekend of shows here and there. And then I've been in a bunch of other bands that maybe people haven't heard of. Well, I was in a band in the 90s called the Judas Iscariot that maybe some people might remember. There was a much more famous black metal band out of the Chicago area with the same name, but we were the three-piece hardcore band out of Long Island. And the thing about us is that we had no guitar player. It was just bass, drums, and vocals. And our singer would play some like trumpet once in a while. So it was sort of like this power violence, hardcore band that also had some like free jazz influences in it. So that was a very fun band to be in. And actually this year, Sunken Temple Records is going to put out a cassette discography of everything we ever did. So
Wow.
look for that.
So once World of Chaos, we played with this band. They were kind of like that, but I mean they didn't have like trumpets or anything. They were also a three-piece. They were just drums, vocals, and bassist. But their bassist, like for the guitar parts, he just had like a pitch shifter pedal, like
Okay.
and he would just go up one octave, which I guess works.
It definitely works. I mean, it took me a while to figure out the setup because just like Two Man Advantage became a band by accident, the Judas Iscariot also became a band by accident. Just a random jam where the three of us were in a room and started playing. I mean, there was never a conscious effort to start a band without a guitar player. I mean, who would do that? But we just did it and it worked and we just kind of kept doing it. So it took me a little while to evolve the sound I wanted, and I ended up I used a bass overdrive pedal, and I went through three different amps and one amp. So I had amps on both sides of the stage, and one amp was always clean. So no matter what I was doing, no matter how crazy and noisy and distorted it all was, there was always one amp that was clean. So you
Wow.
could still sort of hear the notes underneath, whatever chaotic noise garbage was coming out through the distortion pedal.
Wow. So what is a band one of your bands has played with that you're really proud to like admit that you've played with?
Say that again. A band who we've played with that I'm proud that we played with.
Yeah. I messed saying that.
Oh man, we've been so fortunate to play with some great bands. I mean, just in the last few years, and I saw you had Sergey on recently, but we got to play with Sam I Am a few years back, and I'm just such a huge, huge Sam I Am fan. Uh, Big time with them. I mean, we've Two Man Advantage has played a lot of shows with like Down by Law, and became pretty good friends with Dave Smalley over the years. He produced the first Two Man Advantage record, and those were some great shows. I mean, it's almost too many to list. Punk Rock Bowling a few years ago, we got to play one of the club shows with the Subhumans. So definitely an honor to play with them, because who doesn't worship the Subhumans? So yeah, I've been fortunate enough to share the stage with a lot of great bands. And I'll tell you, one band that opened up for us a long time ago was Municipal Waste.
Wow. That's
Um, I mean, it's unfathomable now that they opened up for us, but this was in their very early days. And one of our home away from homes was Richmond, Virginia. We used to go down and play Richmond, Virginia a few times a year. And there were always these great house shows. I don't think we ever played a club in Richmond until a few years in. We always played these house shows. And Municipal Waste was the opening band on one of those house shows. And I mean, within a year or two, they just completely blew up and, were huge. But got to start somewhere.
yeah. I sweet. They opened for Two Man Advantage.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And I have the poster to prove it. Not in this room, but yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to open for Municipal Waste, and you guys got to like headline over them because
Oh, I'd love to open for them now, believe me.
yeah, but they're like because they weren't that big then. That's crazy.
Yeah, they got big very quickly. They got big very, very quickly.
Well, rightfully so because they're great.
Oh yeah, they are great
But
and still doing it.
there are also like a lot of bands that like are just as great as them that aren't as big for some reason.
But isn't that always true? I mean, there's so many great bands. There's so many great bands every night somewhere in the world. There's some band playing some club in front of four people
Yeah.
that should be on the biggest stages in the world. I mean, there's a band from Long Island. I mean, they don't really that active anymore, but they were called Beechcraft Bonanza. And they were around and they played locally, and people locally really like them. But I just felt in a just world, they would have been playing with like the Foo Fighters or something. I mean, they would have been on massive stages, but who knows why it happens or doesn't happen.
Yeah. Did you go to the Luke Kohler benefit at Irving Plaza last month?
I did not get to go to that, no, but I've been following it and his what he's undergoing. And it's rough and it's brutal. And you know, I have hope that he's gonna pull through and get back on that stage at some point. But it just goes to show you how much sick of it all and Lou means to this, that they were able to whip that up so fast. And hopefully they raised a lot of money for him.
They like they you know what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. He's like it seems like he's recovering pretty well. So it's looking pretty bright for him.
I hope so. He's still a young man. And, when you're younger, obviously you could sort of fight these things off and, dealing with the treatments, which are sometimes just as bad as, you know, just as brutal as the cancer that you have to go through. So he's still a relatively young man, certainly seems to be in good shape, and certainly has a lot of people really pulling for him. So that's helpful too.
Yeah. yeah, that benefit, my parents sold the merch, so I got it free because also we're like friends with the guys in Sick Food All. They're really nice, so that's why they were selling merch.
Yeah.
Um,
I still have like 100 shirts in my basement trying to sell them
yeah,
for anybody watching.
Well, I'm sure you could, as a fundraiser, for him,
Yeah,
I'm sure those shirts, I mean, I would buy one. So
well, if you want, all the money goes to Lou. So
I think there's 30 shipped.
yeah,
I'll give you the info. But
great. Yeah, definitely. You count me up for one.
Thanks.
yeah. What were we- Okay. So wait, how old were you when you like started playing music? 'Cause I don't know what instrument you started on.
Well, my very first instrument was trombone that I
Okay.
started playing when I was about 7 or 8 years old and was not very good at all. But I had to pick an instrument, and we weren't allowed to pick drums when we were in elementary school. Um, Drums, you had to be older. Uh, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the music we were playing. Um, I did dabble with some piano after that, which I was a little bit better at, but still didn't really enjoy. I mean, you got to, when you're starting on music, you want to play music that you want to play.
Yeah.
And so, drums was really the first instrument that I took seriously, really enjoyed playing, felt like I kind of had a handle on it. And I would say I was probably about 11 or 12 when I started that. Uh, but I started playing bass because around the same time as me, another kid that I grew up with also started playing drums, and turns out, unlike myself, was a complete prodigy, total drum prodigy. He is a professional drummer to this day. I mean, I'll tell you off air. I don't want to embarrass him and say who he is or anything, but I mean, he even currently plays with some pretty big names. But as long as I was going to be in the same school as him, I feel like I was never going to get into any cool bands playing drums because he was always going to be ahead of me. But there was no bass players in the school. So I figured, bass is pretty cool. And so I started playing bass and found that I was probably a better bass player than I was a drummer. And playing with uh, this guy all these years, like we did everything together as a rhythm section. And when you play with someone that good and that talented, you can't help but try to rise to the occasion. So playing with him made me a better bass player. I'll just say his name. His name is Mark Slutsky, and he's played in a lot of bands over the years, but he currently plays in Adam Ant's band and with Peter Murphy, who was in Bauhaus. So he currently is the drummer for both of them. So, he does these huge world tours, and just been in awe of his career since we graduated high school.
Oh yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So what was the first punk or like hardcore or anything like that show you attended, and how old were you?
Yeah, it took me a while. I mean, because I started getting into punk rock and buying records when I was 13, right? You're 13?
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 was a huge age for me. I mean, that was the year that I discovered the punk and hardcore section in my local record store. I didn't start going to shows until I was in college. Um, so I was a freshman in college. I was 18. And my first show was the Vandals and Bad Religion at the Marquee,
My,
December of 1991.
my first show was also Bad Religion
Oh, yeah. That's a good first show.
In 2021.
in the fall of 2021.
Okay.
Yep.
That's okay. I'm sure I saw them in 2021 too. What'd you think? What
Um,
impression were you left with?
I mean, it was great. It was I don't know. It was just really really fun. I remember it, but like I don't remember it perfectly because it was 3 years ago, and sometimes I don't remember what I ate for lunch. But
I have videos of you singing along.
yeah,
I remember being like really intimidated. I remember, because I've been watching hardcore and punk live videos for years and everyone jumping on each other. And I remember being, like excited but nervous about what I was going to experience. And it was everything I had hoped for. I mean, it was so life-changing. Going to a show like that and people jumping on my head and I didn't even care, but it was so great.
was there a
There wouldn't have been a
was there a
barricade back
barricade at your show?
The Marquee, from what I remember, there was no barricade.
Yeah,
I don't think so. Maybe, but I don't think so. Bad Religion by 91, I mean, they weren't as big as they were by the time you saw them, you know.
Definitely.
But they were still a big band. I mean, they were still playing, you know, clubs that held several hundred people. I think the marquee was probably maybe 300-400 people and was packed.
Yeah.
But it was definitely much smaller than where you would see them now. You know, I still see them. I still go to see Bad Religion shows.
And
And
we saw them at the like Hard Rock Live in Orlando.
yeah.
And
So
there
a big venue and
Yeah.
yeah.
On Pier 17 or
what? Oh, you didn't happen to see them, I think it was in 2023 on Pier 17. It was on like a rooftop in New York.
Yeah, that's a great venue. And I have been to shows there. And I remember where they played, but no, I did not. I think I saw them. I think I may have seen them though, like the night before. I think they played the Paramount on Long Island. And I think I went to that one.
It's really funny how we went to that one. So do you know the DreamWorks water park in New Jersey?
American Dream Mall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sure. I've heard of that.
Yeah, so there's like my brother's obsessed with Shrek, and I like
little
Shrek
brother.
too. Yeah, my little brother, he's
11.
Yeah. I forgot for a sec. But we went to the DreamWorks water park, which is in the American Dream Mall, and there's like Shrek water slides and all this. Yeah, we went with him, me, my mom, and like our friends too. Um, but then we were like, wait, Bad Religion is playing here.
12 miles away
Yeah.
tonight.
And we were like, we could have gone, but my brother, he like doesn't like punk or anything like that. So
I'll speed it up. Our
Yeah.
friend has a car and he was willing to
I'm not
take.
good at speaking.
Then you probably shouldn't have a podcast.
Well, no, I'm good at speaking, but not like long stories.
So they took Gordy home, and Gabe and I just went to Bad Religion on a
Yeah.
whim.
And that was Pier 17, right?
Yep.
On the rooftop. I mean,
So-
it's so great. I mean, you just look around you, you could see the bridges and the river and the buildings. And I saw Blondie and the Dam there a couple of years ago, and incredible. Pretty incredible space to see a show.
Forehead, it's so itchy.
Explain why.
Okay,
He knows.
I got this note on Christmas Eve, and my face looked like this. When I woke up on like December 26th.
Yeah.
And then I think it's like, I think the poison oak like is, I think it's like not swelling. I think it's like pretty much gone. It's just healing like the whatever
Still
is in
itchy.
there, but it's super itchy. And also the beanies don't really help. I just like how they look. They just make
It's your defining look, you know, for the show.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're feeling better because yeah, I heard you got the poison. That's not fun. That's not fun at all.
Crazy. It was all
yeah, it was like
puffed up.
But really, you should have done the show. You know,
Probably.
you should have done it with all you know, swollen face and all that. You know, that would have been pretty cool.
yeah, I since my face was like swollen like this, I could just pretend I was like asleep. Like closed anyways, so
Yeah.
I'll just be like sleep talking. So what's your favorite place you've toured in?
Favorite place we've toured in? Um, I mean, city-wise, we have always had a great time in Minneapolis. Minneapolis has a great music scene. It's got a great punk scene. We've played there a bunch and always had a great time. But I think that the city that holds a special place in my heart is Elko, Nevada. And, you know, when you get to tour and you get to play, you know, of course, you play Chicago and you play Los Angeles and San Francisco and all the big cities, and that's always fun. But discovering these small little cities that most bands never go to, and, you know, finding there are people there and they're just so happy to have a band come to their city. And Elko, Nevada, I don't even remember how we first even got hooked up with them. But Elko is it's a city, but it's a small city along I-80 right in the middle of Nevada. It's nowhere near anything else.
It's north, right? Is it north?
Yes. It's like north central, I think. I think it's closer to Salt Lake City than it is to like Las Vegas. But you just ride in, and I just remember us having to do like laundry that day. We drove into town early, we found a laundromat, and there was like flyers for our show in the laundromat. Like these kids had flyered every telephone pole, every store window, and we played this show, and it was like the whole town came out. Like people who didn't care at all about punk rock or anything came out, and they just wanted to see a band that wasn't from Elko, or wasn't from some other little local small town. Like here's a band from New York, and we ended up going back a couple of years later, and we played in a barn. And
Mhm.
again, it was even bigger. I mean, there was a goat. There was a goat named Lucifer or Satan or something like that. The goat's name was, and we were hanging out with this goat. But again, it was like the whole town was there. Like, I don't know much about your style of music. It's not really my thing, but man, this was just so much fun. And like they were so appreciative, people like us, on the East Coast, and we just get one band after another every week, right? You don't even remember who you saw 4 weeks ago, you know. But there are cities that, in this country that are not really on the regular touring path, and they were just so appreciative. When we showed up 2 years later, like people had made their own homemade patches. I mean, it was crazy. Um, so bands on tour, should definitely seek out, small little towns and communities that will have them because they'll have such a great time. So Elko, Nevada, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not boring you.
No, you're not. I don't know why I yawn a lot.
Because you stayed up till 4 a.m.
Well, yeah, probably. But
Oh, that could be it. That could be it.
I had to wake him up at 10:40.
it's I don't know. I yawn a lot, but yeah, it's probably because of that.
I like sleeping in too. I get it.
Yeah, it's also I wasn't really that tired because we stayed up till 2 a.m. the night before saying strike anywhere. So but to be fair, you never gave me and Gordy a bedtime, so
It's just common sense not to stay up till 4.
Sometimes we lack common sense. What are you going to do?
Especially when
Yeah.
you're 13.
Yeah. I still don't have common sense. I'm 51. I don't have common sense half the time.
yeah. But I mean like you said about small towns, my band is playing in Pepperell, Massachusetts, which is like on the border of New Hampshire and
Perfect. You're going to love it.
out west.
Have you been there before?
No, I haven't.
It's a VFW.
Yeah, so my friend he's 15, he's booking the show. But it's just out of VFW and it's the first Pepperell show in 20 years.
Wow.
Hmm.
I hope you have a similar experience of just people really embracing, like, thank you for coming to our town and playing for us, and it'll be a great time.
Yeah. It's gonna be it's in 4 days. It's in
Yes. By the time this comes out, it will have already happened.
yeah, it'll already happen. It's on it's
January
Saturday.
4th.
Okay. Yeah. Well, safe travels. Have a great time.
Yeah.
Blow them away.
So if you could tell your 13-year-old self anything at all, what would you tell him?
Oh boy. Well, musically, I kind of wish maybe I had devoted more time to to practicing. I mean, I think I'm a pretty decent musician, but I feel like there's so much more I probably should have done to get even better. Take advantage of the opportunities. I did do that in some respects, and maybe could have taken advantage of more opportunities in other respects. And it's such a cliche, but the older you get, the more it rings true. Is that you're only young once. I know that's such a huge cliche to say, but it's so meaningful when you're older, and youth gets further and further away in the rearview mirror, and you're kind of dealing with middle age and getting older and things like that. But just embrace it. I mean, take advantage of it. Do everything you can. Travel as much as you can. Play as music as you can, or whatever it is that you love. Make sure you make time for it. I mean, there's plenty of time to be responsible and be an adult, and most people don't necessarily make it in the thing that they love to do. Some people are lucky enough to do that, but make sure that you still always make time to do what you love, even if you have to take care of grown-up stuff at the same time.
Yep. Well, yeah, anything to add before we wrap it up?
No, well, I mean, I just got to say, I'm really impressed with what you're doing. And I mean, 13, I was just discovering these records, and you're already, you're playing in a band and you're doing this podcast, and you've had some incredible guests on. I mean, I'm honored to be in such company with some of the other guests you've had. So just, keep doing it. I mean, keep doing it because you obviously love it. And, you also obviously have support, and that's really important is to have support.
Yeah.
And again, two-man advantage, too many voices, hope collapse. Hopefully, all three bands remain active in 2025.
Yeah, let's hope so. Well, yeah, thanks to Jeff for joining me today, and thanks to all of you for watching and listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Spotify and other streaming platforms. Until next week, bye.
Bye.